You think intelligence is about IQ scores, good grades, and being the smartest person in the room. You think some people are just born brilliant while others aren't. But what if I told you that everything you believe about intelligence is a manufactured lie? What if the smartest people you know are actually trapped by their intelligence, while people you dismissed as average are the ones truly thriving? In the next 10 minutes, I'll prove that your definition of intelligence has been destroying your potential your entire life. Think about school. The kid who got straight A's, memorized everything, aced every test. Everyone called them intelligent. Now think about where they are today. Chances are, they're not running the world. They're working for someone who barely graduated. Artumhe Lagtahai, that's an exception, but here's the twist. A study from the University of Illinois tracked gifted children with IQs over 140 for 40 years. The result? Most of them ended up in average careers, average income, average lives. Meanwhile, people with IQs around 100 to 100, supposedly above average but not genius level, were far more likely to become successful entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators. The smart kids peaked in school. The average kids learn to adapt, and adaptation beats intelligence every single time. Let me show you how deep this illusion goes. In 1983, psychologist Howard Gardner proposed that there are actually 8 types of intelligence: linguistic, logical, mathematical, spatial, musical, bodily kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic. But schools only measure 2, linguistic and logical. Mathematical. That means if you're a genius at reading people, if you can build anything with your hands, if you understand music at a molecular level, the education system labels you as not intelligent because you can't solve equations quickly. You've been judged your entire life by a measuring stick that only captures 15% of what intelligence actually is. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck spent decades researching why some people succeed and others don't. She found that it has almost nothing to do with IQ. It's about mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe intelligence is static. You're either smart or you're not. People with a growth mindset believe intelligence is developed through effort. The fixed mindset people, they avoid challenges because failure means they're not smart. Growth mindset people seek challenges because failure means they're learning. Dweck tracked students for years and found that growth mindset students with lower IQs consistently outperformed fixed mindset students with higher IQs, not because they were smarter, because they were willing to be wrong. But here's the darker part. The entire concept of IQ was designed to be a weapon, not a measurement. Alfred Binet created the first IQ test in 1905 to identify French schoolchildren who needed extra help. It was meant to be a diagnostic tool for intervention. But when American psychologists imported it, they twisted it into a ranking system. Suddenly, IQ became a way to justify racism, eugenics, and class hierarchies. High IQ meant you deserved success. Low IQ meant you deserved poverty. And it's still being used that way today. Tumha Lagtahai. IQ is objective science, but it's actually a social construct designed to keep people in their place. And that's just the surface. Now let me tell you about what intelligence actually is and why you've been looking in the wrong direction. Emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage emotions, is a stronger predictor of success than IQ. A study from TalentSmart tested more than 1 million people and found that 90% of top performers have high emotional intelligence, while only 20% of bottom performers do. Your ability to read a room, manage conflict, stay calm under pressure, that's more valuable than being able to recite Shakespeare or solve calculus. But nobody teaches you that in school because it's not standardized, not testable, not profitable. Robert Sternberg, former president of the American Psychological Association, developed the triarchic theory of intelligence. He argues there are 3 types: analytical intelligence, what IQ tests measure; creative intelligence, the ability to deal with new situations; and practical intelligence, street smarts. Sternberg's research found that people with high practical intelligence, the ones who can navigate complex social systems, negotiate, adapt to new environments, vastly outperform high IQ individuals in real-world success. The person who can talk their way into any room is more powerful than the person who can calculate pi to 100 digits. But society worships the latter and ignores the former. But here's where it gets truly sinister. The education system deliberately teaches you to value the wrong kind of intelligence because it produces obedient workers, not independent thinkers. Standardized tests don't measure creativity, critical thinking, or problem solving. They measure your ability to memorize information and regurgitate it under time pressure. That's not intelligence. That's compliance training. Sir Ken Robinson, the education researcher, famously said, "Schools are killing creativity because they were designed during the Industrial Revolution to produce factory workers. You're taught to sit still, follow instructions, and produce identical outputs." Anyone who doesn't fit that mold, the daydreamers, the artists, the kids who ask too many questions, they're labeled as problems, not because they lack intelligence, because they have the wrong kind for the system. Tech companies know this. Google's internal research, Project Oxygen, analyzed what made their most effective teams. They expected technical skills and IQ to dominate. Instead, they found that the top 7 qualities of successful Google employees were all soft skills: communication, empathy, listening, critical thinking. Technical expertise ranked last. Google, one of the most technically advanced companies in the world, succeeds because of emotional and social intelligence, not raw IQ. But universities are still obsessing over test scores and GPAs because that's what's easy to measure, not what actually matters. And here's the most uncomfortable truth. Calling yourself smart is one of the most dangerous things you can do. Research from Stanford shows that children praised for being smart become risk-averse. They avoid challenges because failure would contradict their identity. Children praised for effort become resilient. They chase harder problems because struggle means growth. If your identity is tied to being intelligent, every mistake feels like a threat. You stop trying new things. You stick to what you're already good at. You become intellectually brittle. Meanwhile, people who see themselves as learners rather than knowers keep expanding, keep evolving, and eventually surpass you. Your ego about being smart is making you dumber. So why does this matter to you right now? Because you've been playing a rigged game your entire life. If you struggled in school, you internalized that you're not smart. You spent years believing you're limited, avoiding challenges, settling for less, all because a broken system measured you wrong. Tumhara, potential kabi, measure hai nahiwa. You never got to discover what you're actually capable of because you were judged by someone else's narrow definition. Your career, your relationships, your self-worth, they've all been shaped by a lie. If you did well in school, you're trapped differently. You learn to chase external validation. Gold stars, grades, promotions, titles. You're addicted to being the smartest person in the room, so you avoid rooms where you're not. You don't take risks because failure would shatter your identity. You're successful by conventional standards, but miserable because you never learned who you are beyond your achievements. Both outcomes are poison. One destroys your confidence. The other destroys your growth. On a societal level, this creates a world where we waste human potential on a massive scale. Millions of people with talents that don't fit standardized tests never get opportunities. Meanwhile, high IQ individuals get funneled into prestigious careers where many of them burn out because intelligence without wisdom, empathy, or resilience is a curse, not a gift. We've built entire institutions around a definition of intelligence that's barely a century old and already proven wrong, but we can't let it go because too many power structures depend on it. Here's how you take control back starting today. First, redefine intelligence for yourself. Make a list of 10 things you're actually good at. Not what school told you mattered, what you're good at. Maybe you can diffuse any argument. Maybe you can fix anything mechanical. Maybe you can make anyone feel comfortable. Those are intelligences, real ones. More valuable than memorizing formulas you'll never use. Once you see your actual strengths, you stop playing someone else's game and start building your own. Research from Gallup shows that people who focus on their strengths are 6 times more likely to be engaged in their work and 3 times more likely to have excellent quality of life. Not because they're smarter, because they stopped pretending to be something they're not. Second, deliberately do things you're bad at. Take a class in something you know nothing about. Try a hobby where you'll be the worst person in the room. Let yourself fail publicly. This is terrifying if you've built your identity on being smart, but it's the only way to develop a growth mindset. Studies show that people who regularly engage in productive failure, attempting tasks beyond their current ability, develop significantly higher resilience and problem-solving skills than people who only do what they're already good at. Tumhe apni, ego tone ki zaworat hai. Your intelligence isn't fragile. Your ego is. Third, start measuring yourself by what you learn, not what you know. Keep a learning journal. Every week, write down one thing you didn't know before, one mistake you made, and what it taught you, one assumption you questioned. After 6 months, you'll have undeniable proof that you're evolving. People who track their growth externalize it. It becomes real. You're no longer hoping you're getting better. You have evidence. Research from the Dominican University of California found that people who write down goals and track progress are 42% more likely to achieve them. Same principle applies to intelligence. You can't improve what you don't measure, and you've been measuring the wrong things. I tested this 5 years ago. I was the smart kid my whole life. Graduated top of my class, got into a prestigious university, and then completely fell apart in the real world because I had no idea how to handle rejection, failure, or uncertainty. I thought intelligence meant having all the answers. It doesn't. It means knowing which questions to ask. I spent a year deliberately doing things I was terrible at. Stand-up comedy, woodworking, learning languages. I failed constantly. But that year taught me more about actual intelligence, adaptability, resilience, creativity than my entire academic career. I stopped being smart and started being useful. That shift changed everything. But here's the final twist. Even this video is feeding you a new definition of intelligence, and you're accepting it because it sounds good. But here's the thing, any fixed definition of intelligence is a trap. The moment you decide this is what intelligence is, you've limited yourself again. Real intelligence is fluidity. It's recognizing that what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. It's holding your beliefs lightly enough that you can change them when better information arrives. You can't be intelligent by checking boxes. You can't be intelligent by fitting a definition. You can only be intelligent by constantly adapting, questioning, growing. The people you think are geniuses, most of them just stayed curious longer than everyone else. They didn't know more. They asked more. They weren't afraid to look stupid. And that fearlessness is the actual marker of intelligence. So here's your choice. You can keep chasing someone else's definition, trying to prove you're smart by metrics that don't matter. Or you can reject the entire concept and focus on becoming more capable, more adaptable, more useful. Intelligence isn't a trophy you win. It's a practice you commit to. Right now, think of one thing everyone says you're not smart enough for and go learn it. Not to prove them wrong. To prove to yourself that intelligence is built, not born. Share this with someone who's been told they're not smart. They need to hear it. And if you want content that rebuilds broken systems instead of defending them, subscribe, but only if you're ready to question everything you thought you knew. 10 minutes ago, you believed intelligence was fixed. Now you know it's a choice. Choose growth. Choose adaptation. Choose to be wrong so you can be better.